Hi everyone, welcome to Must Read Monday. My name is Dabney. I'm the young adult librarian at the Twin Lakes Library System and I use they, them pronouns. Today we are in the young adult collection at the Mary Vincent Memorial Library to talk about some new YA books that I've read. Specifically, I'm going to talk about 3 short story anthologies that are new to the collection and also talk about the new manga and graphic novels that I've read. And behind me, you can see a selection of some of the new books that came with our October order. A lot of them have already been checked out, which is awesome. So glad that people are checking out the books and reading them. But first off, we'll get started with Vampires Never Get Old, Tales with Fresh Bite. And these are, I think, 11 different YA authors contributed to this anthology and wrote vampire stories. So lots of authors that, you may be aware of if you read a lot of YA books. So Samira Ahmed, Daniel Clayton, Tessa Gratton, Heidi Helig, I'm sorry, I'm butchering people's names, I'm sorry. Julie Murphy, Marco Shiro, Rebecca Roanhorse, Laura Ruby, V.E. Schwab, Kayla Wiley, and then the editors of this anthology, they also wrote a story together, Zoraida Cordova and Natalie C. Parker. Anyways, this was great. I loved it. I love vampires. I love vampire stories. And I really liked, the unique twist that all of the authors put on their stories. There's lots of diversity and representation across a lot of different identities. So you've got, people who are LGBTQ. You've got body diversities, people with different body types. You've got people from different cultural backgrounds, which is really great. And then, the stories themselves, they're not all set today. There's a couple that are, kind of have a historical bent to them. I don't know. They're all very interesting. Marco Shiro, I really like their story, which is told by the character is a vampire, so the vampire is telling his story. It seems like they're written as Tumblr posts, and so you've got the little entry that the vampire's writing at the bottom. It'll be this many notes, and then people commenting on it. So it's somebody who's on Tumblr. I was that's great. It was really cool. And I really love Daniel Clayton's story, The House of Black Sapphires. That one, just a really interesting world building and was just really beautifully written. And I love the setting, the family of vampires. They end up moving to New Orleans, and the city has different wards for different supernatural creatures like vampires. And I thought that was really cool. First Kill by Victoria Schwab is actually going to be, I think, made into a TV series, which I'm what? That's amazing. I'm excited. And that one has, a really cool twist to it. Senior Year Sucks by Julie Murphy. That one kind of has, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer type vibe to it, where the main character is a plus-size cheerleader captain in Texas and also a vampire hunter, which is amazing. A guidebook for the newly sired Desi vampire by Samira Ahmed. That one was just really, really cool. So it's kind of the vampires have set up this app for newly turned vampires in India, and it's kind of to help them walk them through the process. And also gives them some background. I don't know. It was just really very cool. So yeah, all of these I liked. And I don't know if I have a favorite. I really like The Boys from Blood River by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is kind of has like a Lost Boys sort of feel to it. That was great. And yeah. And also, I forgot to say that the editors, at the end of, each short story, they kind of have like sort of a little short, I don't know, it's not exactly an essay, but kind of like a take on vampire tales, like an aspect of vampire tales, like, I don't, and they just have like really funny titles, like Kiss, Marry, Kill, or The Vampires We Love to Love. Anyways, I enjoyed it. So if you have been longing to sink your teeth into some vampire lit, check this out. Okay, this one was amazing. Rural Voices, 15 authors challenge assumptions about small town America. And one thing I really loved about this anthology, well, I loved everything about it, but so this anthology, the authors, either they grew up in rural areas or they spent like a significant portion of their life in rural areas. And so they're writing, from their own experiences, and all the stories are set in rural areas and have like, the character's perspective on like where they live. And, it's about challenging assumptions, which there are a lot of assumptions. People think, if you live in a small town, you're ignorant, or you're poor, or you're backwards, or everyone in small towns are the same. Everyone in rural areas think the same way, and there's just like a lot of negative stereotypes that people have like about anyone who lives out in a rural area. And so these stories, they do challenge those assumptions, and they give you like that window into the world of people who live in rural areas. And they're also like a mirror. So for me, who I don't know if I necessarily grew up in a rural area, but definitely more like small town. And so I felt very seen in a lot of these stories. And there's been times when personally, like, I've struggled with like where I live and like this very big drive, like, okay, I don't feel like I fit here, I need to get out. But in these stories, some of the characters do go through that, but a lot of them are finding ways that they do fit in where they live, and that they can grow and thrive even in a place that a lot of people dismiss and think like there's no opportunity or anything for you there. So I don't know, they all were really great, and a lot of these authors I had never read before, but I genuinely loved like all of the stories, and I was like, I need to read like go find these authors and find out more about them. And like at the end of the book, there's kind of a brief introduction about the author, and then kind of their sort of personal take on like what it was like growing up in a rural area. And like the Vampires anthology, this one also has a lot of diversity in it, which I really appreciated, reading these stories. So yeah, I highly recommend checking this one out. And I hope a lot of people read it because I feel like it's really important. Likewise, I also love this anthology, Come On In, 15 Stories About Immigration and Finding Home. And this one also has like a lot of YA authors that you may have read before. A lot of, like, I think we have almost every single one of these authors in our collection already, so that was great to just read them again and read some short stories by them. And yeah, I just finished this one today, and I think most of the stories in this like have contemporary settings. There was like I think a few that had like a historical setting, and there's one where they talk about kind of generational immigration. One story is about the characters' grandparents like having to flee their home country in Europe during like World War II, and then like going to Israel, and then moving from Israel to Argentina, and then like the main character is like going from Argentina to the United States for school. So got that generational immigration stories, and then there's several stories in here about characters who are coming to the U.S. for college, or their entire families coming, and from just countries like all over the world, and learning about those experiences. Some of them, it's like they are either like on their way to America, or like one of the stories, the girl is, she was born in another country, but has spent like pretty much almost her entire life living in America. She's an American citizen, but she's traveling outside the country, and her name is flagged at security, and they're like, oh, well, you're from this country, so you're a suspicious person. And she's like, I'm literally just trying to go to Geneva with my classmates for this like school program. And so it deals a lot with like the prejudices like within society, against immigrants and against people from like certain countries, and like how the characters deal with that. And it was just like I feel like it's really important to read, and with a lot of these stories, like this anthology and the Rural Voices ones, I do think they're really important, and when you're reading them, they're important for people who can see themselves in the work, and then they're important for people who like, this has not been their experience. It's a good opportunity to learn about other people's lives and to develop empathy, and I don't know, I like them both a lot. So I mean, they're important. They're also great stories, unique stories, so I highly recommend these and the Vampire Anthology. And again, this is a great way to kind of introduce you to a lot of authors who, if you haven't read them before, maybe this will encourage you to pick up their books and read more. And then real quick, I'm just going to go over some new manga and graphic novels. So we've got My Hero Academia, Volume 25. I think this is the darkest volume in the series. You've got Shigaraki's backstory, which was intense. It was intense. There's a lot happening. So I really enjoyed this one, and I liked seeing what my favorite UA students are up to. Oh no, that's my phone alarm. Okay, sorry about that. The Demon Prince of Momochi House, Volume 16. This is the final volume. I've been a big fan of this series, and wow, the ending was something else. I'm not even going to talk about it because of spoilers, but yes, I do think if you like, supernatural stories, definitely check this out. It's supernatural and romance and like really gorgeous art. I love it. Haikyuu Volume 40. I continue to be amazed at how much I love Haikyuu and how much the story does, as far as like developing the characters within like non-stop volleyball playing. It's great. I love it. The Ancient Magus Bride, I think that's how you say it, Volume 13. This is one where like sometimes I kind of forget what happens previously in the story because there's a lot going on, but I feel like I did catch up. And it's just a really great story arc with what's going on with the characters right now. And I loved it. This one was so good. So much happening. Flamer, I just read this today. Oh my gosh, amazing. This is about a 14-year-old boy who is away at his Boy Scout summer camp, and he's kind of having this identity crisis. Like, he's left middle school, he's about to go to high school. Things have been really bad for him in school. Like, he's been bullied a lot, so he's nervous about what's going to happen. There's things going on with his family. And he also experiences, like, some bullying at camp, which is kind of like his safe place. So he's struggling with that and also struggling with understanding himself and kind of this, like, sexual awakening he's going through and realizing, like, oh my god, I might like guys, like, what do I do with this? So this one was really, again, really important and has, like, a really great message, and I hope lots of people read it. And it's set in 1995, so I don't know, I just thought that was great. They're talking about Nirvana and Green Day, and I was like, oh, Nirvana. Anyways, highly recommend, very important. Monstrous, Volume 5. Monstrous is rated mature, just FYI. Definitely older teen readers. And this is another one with a lot going on, so I kind of was like, what's happening right now? But it's still one of my favorites. It's some of the most beautiful art I've come across. It's very dark and messed up and violent, but it's totally unique and interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens next. The Avant-Gardes, Volume 3. I believe this is the end. This is about a basketball league started for, like, art schools. So check out what the characters get into. And then finally, Runaways, Volume 5. I continue to love this run by Rainbow Rowell. I really love the Runaways, and I really loved seeing her take on it. I love the art. It's just really fun. So if you want, like, a diverse group of, like, superheroes who are also teens, definitely check this out. But yeah, that is all for today. I hope y'all had a good holiday, good weekend, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.